Hello and good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Hello and good afternoon. Welcome once again to Sauti Kenya weekly show that's on Friday at 4 to 5 p.m. East African time. It's a pleasure to have you back once again. And the topic for this week is advancing the inclusion of persons with disabilities in Africa. This is a show titled Sauti Yangu, brought by Sauti Kenya. And today we are privileged to have two panelists who will enable to enhance the discussion that surrounds the topic of this week. I would like to introduce Joseph from Rwanda and Jemima from Kenya. And Joseph, could you kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Musabyimana from Rwanda. I'm Executive Secretary of an organization called the Rwanda Organization of Persons with Deaf Blindness. In short, it is ROPDB. Also, sign language interpreter from 2016 up to now. I'm in the domain of sign language interpretation services. Also, founder of Rwanda National Union of Sign Language Interpreters. Deputy representative of that association. Also, legal representative of Sparks Impacting Community. Sparks Impacting Community also, it is an organization created to improving the life of people with disability. Also, as I said, ROPDB, some of you, they are familiar with deaf blind, others they don't know, but let me explain them in short. I'm executive secretary, as I said, but ROPDB, it is a new organization in the disability movement. It was created in 2018, where two or three organizations combined together. The first was Rwanda Union of the Blind. The second was Rwanda National Union of the Deaf. And the third one is Rwanda National Association of Deaf Women. They combined effort after clustering in their members. There are some members who have deaf blindness because some comes from RUB, others comes from RNADAWA, others comes from RNUT. They combine together to find those members who have deaf blindness, and they created the association called the ROPDB. It is an organization working. From now, we are working in that environment. We are improving the right and the access services to those people with deaf blindness. Also, I have a background in special needs education. Up to now, I'm ongoing student in master's business management, option of project management. Yeah, I think that this is my short my background. If you want more information about me, we can talk to them. Let me take this small moment to tell you in a few, but others we can continue to discuss.
Thank you so much. That's a very impressive portfolio. Jemima, I would like to welcome you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yes. What we do, first of all, we go in the community. We identify those people with deaf blindness, deaf in the community. Let me focus on deaf blindness. We identify them, we look what challenges they face with in the community. Most of the women, they have a challenge about violence. They have a challenge in communication because sign language or tactile sign language, it is a new language where many people don't know to communicate with them. If they need services, they cannot get them at the hospital, at school. Most of them, they cannot attend the school. To get sexual reproductive health services, they cannot get them. Even in the government, in decision making, they are not included because you cannot include someone who cannot communicate with. Uh, Also, they have another challenge in expressing ideas or opinions in the public. To be included in different services, we are working in different services providers. As I said in my bio, there is an experience I did in the VS Rwanda where we trained nurses and services, health services providers to
Yes.
communicate with deaf in order to get the full information about the sexual reproductive health.
Okay.
So for now, we are focusing on communication because
Mhm.
the communication is the focal point. It is the main challenge. When you don't communicate with someone, you cannot get whatever you want. If you are able to communicate with someone, you can tell him what you need and what you are going to achieve. So
Mhm.
it's better to discuss with you to tell us how is it in your country. But for us, uh, it is not like in many years ago. But for now, there is a small step. But we hope in the future there is a change.
Yes.
There is a change. We are encouraging the government and the decision makers to know if those people are available in the community to help them when they want to prepare for them any services or any support, they have to engage them in decision making.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Ms. Jemima Kutata. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do and the drive behind what you do, your advocacy work. Ms. Jemima Kutata? Um, I'm not so sure if she can hear us.
I think that she cannot hear us.
All right. And a quick question to you, Joseph, while we wait for Miss Jemima. Um, how can one be able to identify that this is a person with disability? What defines someone that, how can you define someone with disability?
Yeah, a disability only, there is a word disability. You are
Mhm.
not able to do something. Why you are not able to do something? Because there is something, there is some
Mhm.
barrier.
Mhm.
So some barrier, it can be a mental challenge, it can be a physical losing part of the body.
Mhm.
Uh, all of those, they can stop you to do something like others they can do. Those barriers can make you disabled to do something. Means disability, it can be, we can say, mental, physical, psychological, something like that, that can stop you to do something like
Mhm.
others
Mhm.
on the
Yes.
same level.
Okay.
For example, if you are a child, there is a step of age where a child can know something. For example, knowledge. If you are able to reading, to play with others, if you are able to make social conversation, if a child is not making a social conversation, first of all,
Mhm.
think to that child, because there's something missing in
Mhm.
the progress. If you don't have two legs, if you have one, you are not able to do something like that one who can do the work using two legs. If you have one hand, you cannot work like that one who have two hands.
Yes.
So those are barrier that can limit you to do something like others. It is what we call disability.
All right. Thank you so much for that clarification because I believe so many people or a number of people might be um, claiming or might be understanding disability to only the physical part, but it's good that you brought up the psychological part of having disability. Ms. Jemima Kutata, if you can hear us, we lost you for a minute.
I think that we can wait half for a minute. 1 minute. That it is technological problems.
Yes.
Mm. We
Hello.
can continue.
Yes.
So,
All right. Joseph, I
this,
have another question.
yeah,
Right now, during this pandemic, the COVID season, a lot of things have changed, and I do believe that these changes have affected so many people across the globe and across all sectors of life. And I wanted to understand what challenges have been magnified because of the pandemic.
yeah, there are so many challenges. Let me say in Rwanda, for example, little people who have those kind of disability, they did where we wash the hands, but they didn't think to those people. They create a way to wash the hand, but those people with little people, they cannot reach to that place to wash their hand in order to
Mhm.
avoid the COVID-19. It was the main challenge. First of all, because they are too short, to
Okay.
wash the hand, it was so very difficult. Some of them they was affected because when you want to wash your hand, all of
Mm.
the water comes to your body without
Okay.
intervention. So the second one is for the blind people, those with visual impairment. Sometimes they go with guides, but the rules of COVID to what we call social distancing was so
Mm-hmm.
difficult. It was not good for them. If we wanted to get something and you need someone to guide you, it was a challenge. It was cross-cutting with the government saying that you have to respect this, and the person with disability wanted to be guided, but it was
Mm-hmm.
the challenge. The third one, it's for deaf people. The people with hearing impairment, it was a challenge because the government set the measures, announce what the population have to avoid, how to protect them, the COVID, but some announcement was not translated in sign language
Oh,
because I think that they are expecting that it was expensive, but
okay.
it is not expensive. It
Mm,
is the fourth one. It is the challenge for deaf-blind.
okay.
Deaf-blind, we communicate them using hands, touching hands, what we call tactile sign
Mm,
language.
okay.
But the rules of the government to protect the COVID-19,
Yeah.
no one who can touch to another one.
Yeah.
The fifth is for women and girls with disabilities. Because of stay at home and lockdown, some of there are so many women and girls who were violated in that period. So even children with disabilities, they were violated in that period. So
When you
the
say
challenge,
violated, you mean in what way? Sexually, physically?
um, yeah, also for people with physical disabilities, they are not able to move because if they said that the time is 7 p.m. to reach at home,
Mm,
that person who have physical disability cannot work like people without disability.
okay.
Yeah, so to reach at home on the time, it was so difficult.
Mm,
If they wanted to go somewhere, a far place, he cannot go there because so the common challenge for all people with disabilities, it was employment.
mm,
Employment, some was getting what to eat, food, and so on, by working daily or employed permanently. But
okay.
when the COVID came, it affects all the job stopped.
True.
Most of people with disabilities lost the job. Let me give an example.
Okay.
I
Go
was
ahead.
working with deaf people in the community.
Mhm.
When the COVID came, uh, the uh, the job stopped. Those deaf lose the hope, saying that where can we get what we was getting previously?
Mm,
Uh, so we tried to manage that situation, to look for people who can support us, to give them what to eat in stay at home. Up to now, I think that life, little by little, there is a small change.
that's
So
good.
challenges are so many. Others will come slowly by slowly during the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you for enlightening us with that information. Now, I would want to know what barriers do people living with disability face in Rwanda, especially within the society or even the workplace environment? And how do you believe such issues can be addressed?
So let's start about the communication.
Mm,
Communication, it's the main barrier. It is the main barrier for people with disabilities. Let me talk about deaf and deaf blindness.
sure.
In the community, if we wanted to talk to someone, if you want to know information, If we will need service, it passes through the communication. But deaf and deaf blind people cannot get what they want
Mm-hmm.
because the community don't know sign language and tactile sign language. The second is discrimination. Discrimination also, it is a challenge for people with disabilities. Some people without disabilities, when they face with someone with disability, they try to say that you are not able, nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people who are not aware about people with disabilities. Some of them, they fear from them because,
Yeah.
like people have a misunderstanding saying that it, to have a disability, it is like a punishment from God.
Mm. Mm.
So those challenges, it is also the another one, employment in the community.
Okay.
People say that a person who with disability cannot do something like others. He or she is not able to do things like others.
Mm.
But what we are doing to overcome those challenges, to solve those
Yeah.
problems,
Mm.
we are doing campaign,
Okay.
community campaign, where
Okay.
we explain to the community that people with disabilities are able, like
Mm-hmm.
others, if the barriers are removed.
Mm.
For example, if she or he is deaf, and the community knows sign language or tactile sign language,
Mm. Mm.
uh, the barrier is removed because the communication is easily. If it is for employment, if you give a person with disability a job related to what he or she is able,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is to remove the barrier.
Yeah.
For people with blindness, if you give them devices or other accessory materials that can help her or him to do the job well,
Mm-hmm.
she or he can do.
True.
For people with physical impairment or disabilities, if you remove the barrier, the stairs, if the road are well built and the house are well built, those barrier removed, he can work like others. He can go in the office, he can do office activities like others.
Yeah.
Even the churches, we are encouraging the religious to include
Neighbors.
people with
Mm.
disabilities in the services. They
Mm.
can give a sermon, they can read the Bible, so we wanted to remove those barriers in order to help people with disabilities to access the services in the community.
True. I believe there's so much you can do to encourage inclusion, especially in different areas of life. Now, I'll go over the comments. We have Lucy Rungu who's joined us. Welcome, and Safina Baru as well. Lucy Rungu is saying this is a very important discussion. The inclusion of people living with disability in the society and meeting their needs is something very important. She also says that she likes the fact that
Would you
they
like
focus
to?
on communication to reduce barriers of people living with disability. Um, Also, yes, Jemima, I believe you can hear me now. Jemima?
Jemima?
Yes, I can hear
All
you.
right, welcome.
Yeah,
Kindly,
right,
uh,
right. Welcome.
yeah, kindly introduce yourself and tell us
Thank
what you
you.
do.
Sorry, my name is Jemima
Yes,
Kutata, a champion of inclusion and rights of persons with disabilities.
yes.
I work with the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya, which was established in 1958. And our overall objective is to improve the quality of lives of persons with disabilities through comprehensive rehabilitation programs
Mm-hmm.
using a right-based approach to achieve poverty reduction through mainstreaming for socio-economic empowerment. And also, as a woman with disability, I mentor girls and women with disabilities and capacitate them on
Mm-hmm.
their rights and encourage them and mentor them to be able to champion for their rights and to be self-advocacy of their own.
That is very powerful.
Also, I'm a
Yes,
politician. In 2022, I aspire to be an MP in
yes.
Kenya,
We'll vote for you.
and I've been in politics for a
Mm-hmm.
while. And and we are encouraging women to come out, women with disabilities to come out
Yes.
and champion for inclusion when it comes to politics, when it comes to economic empowerment. And also, I train young girls on
Mm-hmm.
advocacy so that we can have voices of women with disabilities amplified, because for a long time, girls and women with disabilities have been forgotten for a long time.
Okay.
And it's time for them to shine and come out and amplify their voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you're able to join us, and I'm very encouraged for what you do. I'd also like to understand what is the drive behind your advocacy work for persons living with disability. Jemima? Yes.
Yes.
I would like to understand what is the drive behind your advocacy work for persons living with disability?
Well, it's the passion.
Yes.
Despite of me having a physical limitation, I have a
Yes.
passion to see a change in the lives of persons with disabilities. And that is my
True.
drive, which drives me every day. Because when I was growing up, I had a
Mm-hmm.
dream of making lives, changing lives of persons with disabilities. And now here I am. I'm working towards achieving my dream of seeing a barrier-free society, a barrier-free world where people with disabilities can enjoy life just as any other able-bodied person.
Thank you so much, Jemima. And from the comments, Joseph, from the comments, Safina is asking, is there a government-run organization for persons living with disability in Rwanda? If yes, what is the government doing for them? And if no, are there plans to have one in the future? Joseph?
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
So in Rwanda, we have a council called the NCPD, National Council for Persons with Disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That council supports us during the activities of advocacies to encourage the government officials in order to participate to full inclusion of persons with disabilities. But we still have a progress. We are not achieved where we want, but the progress is showing that the future is bright.
Yeah.
We are working together, hands in hand, in order to promote and to include the people with disabilities in the society.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much. Jemima, I'd like to ask, how do you find the education system in Kenya, and how do they support children with disability? within the education system?
Well,
Jemima?
the education system in Kenya have really tried when it comes.
Yes.
The education
Sorry, go
sector
ahead.
has really tried when it comes to disability inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
but we still have a long way to go as still a developing country, because you find that the accessibility of the schools is not fully yet. We still
Okay.
have challenges here and there, but the government is really trying inclusion of children with disabilities, and it's really encouraging children with disabilities to go to school, and they're even giving sponsorship for children with disabilities so that they can be encouraged to go to school, so that we can change that narratives which has been there before, because you find that many persons with disabilities were not having an opportunity to go to school because of the long distances and also other barriers. But currently,
Yeah.
we have schools which are accommodating persons with disabilities. And as I said, that we still have a long way to go, because not all schools are mainstreamed, because you
Mm-hmm.
find that in our normal public schools, we don't have like sign language interpreters. So
Mm-hmm.
when a deaf kid goes to that school, they cannot get the full services unless they go to a deaf school. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a need for inclusion in every school and every institution, and that I know it's a mileage we will take as a country.
Yes, certainly. That we are hopeful for that bright future. And what do you think the government should do to increase access for persons living with disability in different sectors, be it health, politics, education? Jemima?
Well, well, in Kenya,
Yes.
between 4.6% to 10% of Kenyans are persons with disabilities.
Okay.
And those persons with disabilities, they are more likely experiencing adverse socio-economic outcomes, such as less education, poor health
Mm-hmm.
outcomes, lower levels of employment, and high poverty rates.
Yes.
And as the government, what they can do, the government should improve their access to
Okay.
quality and affordable education system, health system, and also encourage employment of persons with disabilities. And this can be done through policy and legislation. In policy and
Mm-hmm.
legislation, the government is supposed to assess the existing policies and services, identify
Mm-hmm.
the priorities to reduce health inequalities, and ensure disability inclusion to comply with the CRPD, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Another thing the
Yes.
government can do is financing. The
Mm-hmm.
government should ensure persons have are covered, and consider measures that the premiums are affordable so that they can benefit the persons with disabilities. And also,
Okay.
persons with disabilities should benefit from health and other programs.
True. Thank you so much. And Joseph, I would like to extend the question that what role do civil society organizations play to ensure that persons living with disability matters are at the forefront of policy development or implementation?
So before talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we thank our government because they tried all possible to set the policies related to persons with disabilities. We have policies, they are clear. They are clear because they signed many convention about the people with disabilities. Many policies they are there, but the
Yeah.
main challenges you have implementers. implementers, they don't implement those policies. If we say inclusive education, there is a university called the University of Rwanda College of Education. They teach teachers, they train teachers to be teacher in the inclusive schools, but in the buildings and the school which are inclusive are accountable. They are so few because it is the problem of implementation that we have. Remind me the question you was asking me.
Yes, so what role do civil society organizations play to enhance the policy implementation or development for persons living with disability?
So civil societies, we are combining effort together in order to ask the government. These rules, policies are clear. We need to do things like this and this in order to improve or to include and solve the problem of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So we are trying to do advocacies in different ways, so as pressuring, so as writing papers, and other ways of doing advocacy in order to make sure that the problem of persons with disabilities, the government know them. So the other important thing we are doing, we are asking the government in order to help people with disabilities. First of all, we invite them to hear their problems and know what they are going to support them. Because a person with disabilities, it is not good to support him without intervention. You come and ask him, what do you need? How can we do this in order to solve this issue? So we are encouraging the government to work together with our civil societies in order to identify and know the main issues in the community in order to implement well those policies. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Jamima, what are your thoughts on the same in terms of civil society organizations and their role in policy development and implementation?
Well, the civil society and also persons with disabilities organization are really trying on enlightening the government and other people on how to be inclusive when it comes to policies. And they're making sure that persons with disability are included in every program and in every activity. For example, a long time ago, we never used to have even representation in the board in boards or in schools. And currently, right now, we have a representation in each and every school. We have somebody representing persons with disabilities. And currently, every meeting is not complete without a person with disability. So at least we can say the CSOs and DPOs have really worked towards making sure that there is inclusion of persons with disabilities.
All right. Thank you so much, Jemima. In the comments, Lucy Rungu has asked, what are some of the techniques you use to help improve the mental health of people living with disability? This is because of the unique challenges they face that differ from the general population. So, Jemima?
Well, come up again with a question.
Yes. What are some of the techniques that you use to help improve the mental health of people living with disability?
Well, actually, people with disabilities have really been affected psychologically especially during and after the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Because COVID-19 came unexpectedly, and many people, not even the persons with disabilities only, but the world, everybody was affected in one way or another psychologically. And what we did is bringing people together in our social groups and communicating with them. And also we came up as an organization, we came up with a calling line, a helpline. If you have a
Yes.
problem, you can call and we can counsel you online, and we can give you psychosocial support online, because that time people were not meeting physically. And when the lockdown was uplifted, we are meeting slowly and coming together and talking and encouraging one another, and also trying to help them in one way or another.
All right. Thank you so much, Remema. And Joseph, what about you? Is the situation the same in are the techniques that you use to help improving the mental health of people living with disability the same, similar to the ones we use in Kenya?
Yeah. Let me say a little about that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the starting of COVID-19, I
Yes.
think that in April 2020. So it was a challenge in the mind of people with disabilities because it comes to block all ways of communication or knowing information. So in order to help them to have well mentally builded,
Mm-hmm.
we tried to, for deaf persons, we tried to translate sign language, those measures of government into sign language. We tried to do some calls, some conference calls in order to discuss, telling them that if the problem happened like this COVID, but the life is continuing,
Mm-hmm.
telling them we have hope. Some we created the groups where we discuss, we converse, we tell them and ask them what the challenges they have in
Yes.
order to think well. So we created many social ways, but we are not on the top of the ways to deal with them. But it's still in the process. But we managed that problem in order to create groups, encouraging them using social medias where they enjoy like others. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. We have a comment from Lucy Rungu that says the helpline for counseling is really encouraging, and she also says, "Great job, Jemima." And I would like to ask, what was the recent work or milestone that you achieved through your advocacy, and how are you able to achieve this milestone? Jemima?
Well, we have been having support groups,
Yes.
which we even before COVID-19 we have been having support groups of persons with disabilities and also parents of children with disabilities, and it really made it easier because we had a rapport with them and we had that collaboration and cohesion together. And when
Yeah.
the COVID came, it was easy for us to come up together and see how we can help each other. Although in that line, I can still say we still have challenges, because
Yes.
not every person with disability can afford airtime to call. Not
Okay.
every person with disability can be able to be online like the way we are. So there is a
Yeah.
need for us to trickle these services to the grassroots level, to meet physically, so that we can be able to reach everybody, because not everybody who can be able to access social media, and also not everybody who can be able to use the new technology.
Yes. Okay. And Joseph, how is it in Rwanda? What is the recent achievement that you've accomplished through your advocacy work?
So Previous years, I think that many years ago, in
Mm-hmm.
Rwanda, we didn't have a sign language interpreter on TV.
Okay.
But for now, we have one TV which has a sign language interpreter who translate then use.
Mm-hmm.
It is also an achievement. The second, in COVID-19, when it broke, it happened in April 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We claimed saying that people or persons with disabilities, they don't get information, but the government started to translate some announcement in sign language.
Okay.
It is an advocacy we did.
Mm.
Also for little people, those who are short,
Okay.
we claimed that they are not able to wash their hands. But
Mm-hmm.
from now, the government accepted that our washing places, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
not all,
Yes.
some of them, they are accessible. People with
Yes.
little, those little people can access
Mm-hmm.
the water, can wash their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Also for persons with deaf blind, we
Yes.
still have a serious challenge because the communication is touching hands in hands. It is so very difficult.
Mm.
So we tried to send some announcement from different areas in order to help them to know what happened, what is going on.
Yes.
Also, the buildings are also removing no one who is allowed in this generation to build a building which is not accessible.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
government said that no one who is able to build a building like that which was not accessible.
Mm.
So we are trying to access in all the domain.
Mm.
So also I think that in 2019, I was in the project of sexual reproductive health in Rwanda. We tried to manage it where deaf persons can know and get information about sexual reproductive health using sign language. I said in the bill where we teach nurses, community health workers, all of them, we taught them sign language in order to communicate with them. But we did that project in one district. It is not all districts. So we are in the progress. That district is aware. We need to other districts, 29 districts, to know that persons with disabilities, especially deaf, can access services related to sexual reproductive
Okay.
health. Also, the change we are managing and advocating for blind persons or writing to be written in Braille in order
Okay.
to help them to read.
Yes.
So I think that we still have a long process, but we are not where we was in the
Yes.
previous years. But
Yes.
there is a big change. I think that in the following years there is a change. From
Yes.
now, every Rwandan we want to explain him or her to know a person with disabilities
Mm.
because there are some people who don't know people with disabilities. For example, when he faces with a deaf or a blind, he can run away.
Okay.
So we are trying to advocate. So the process is showing us the future is bright.
Yes. It's very encouraging to know that the government is able to put such rules for construction because that means development in all areas for persons living with disability. And that is very encouraging. And I believe a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So this single step will take us where we really want to see everyone with disability, like living the life to their fullest. Now, Lucy has a question for Jemima. What are your thoughts on the cash transfer under Inua Jamii program by the government of Kenya? Do you think it's a sustainable solution to problems people with disabilities are facing?
Thank you. Well, I think one, we need to appreciate the cash transfer because for a long time that program has not been there.
Okay.
And as a country of Kenya, we need to appreciate that our government has done a lot when it comes to disability. We are more of better than other countries. And as we know, Africa, issues of disabilities were forgotten for a long time. In Kenya, it's only the other day when you got the 2010 constitution that we started to see more changes. And actually, we can see changes because we can see people now are getting employed. We can see persons with disabilities inclusive in our places of work, in our community level areas, in politics. We can see even in business, persons with disabilities are being included. So we should appreciate that fact that when the government get more funding, it will come up with very good, sustainable programs and projects which will support persons with disabilities. It's us to hold hands together and support also the government, because the issue of disability should not just be a government issue. The issue of disability should be from community level. We should own persons with disability as part of us and as the citizens of this country. And you find that most of the time, people blame game shift to government about disability. Like, I am a woman with disability, and when I want to go to Women Enterprise Fund to get money, funding, they can tell me, but you have disability money, you see. But we need to own disability and start from the beginning, from the family level to the society level, supporting persons with disabilities and knowing that they are part of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Joseph, I have a question from Lucy as well that says, the Rwandan Development Board steers programs that improve the state of your country. Does the Rwanda Development Board sufficiently include people with disability in these programs and interventions?
So thank you.
Welcome.
Rwanda Development Board is not sufficient. It needed to work with other partners. Those partners include civil societies, DPOs, disability organizations. It needs to work with the community in order to improve and include the persons with disabilities to have access to all services needed. So, like other they said, if we were going to take a loan in the bank, it is so hard to get it if you have disabilities, because many people with disabilities are classified in the first category of Udehe. Those are social classes. The first class, it is a class of poorest people. The second, it is people who try to get some incomes. The third one, it is the class of people who are rich. And the fourth, it is the class of people who are billionaires. But for the first class of the category, it is so very hard to get a loan in order to develop something. But what we are doing, we are advocating to consider people with disabilities and allow them to get access to what other citizen needs. For example, if a person with disabilities need a credit to run her or his business,
Yes.
so they can allow him or her.
Yeah.
In education, if a person with disability wants to continue education,
Mm-hmm.
they need to support him or her to continue the education. Like we did last time,
Mm-hmm.
in Rwanda, women in the decision makers were few,
Okay.
but now the government managed that situation to increase the number of women in decision makers and the government
Mm-hmm.
leaders.
Yes.
So when we do like this, when we work together with the government, when we work together with the civil society,
Mm-hmm.
when we work together with FBOs in faith-based organization
Mm-hmm.
and the international organization
Yes.
or other partners, a person with disabilities can improve his or her life of living.
It's very true.
So it is what we are talking to in social economic development.
Mm. Okay. Joseph, I also have another question for you. Mary Julie is asking, what are the ethical considerations you advocate for in research and advocacy interventions?
So when you are advocating,
Yes.
uh, you focus on evidence.
Yes.
Advocacy, the best of advocacy focus on evidence. We know that I don't have approximately the number,
Okay.
but the number of persons with disabilities
Mm-hmm.
who get the loans, who are employed, who
Mm-hmm.
are in his, who are in the development program, there
Yes.
are not many
Okay.
because some of them they don't have information if there is something. For example, we have a grant for a young person to create their business, but
Yes.
persons with disabilities they don't know if it is there. So, hello, hi sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying that
Yes.
many of them they don't know the information in the community if there is an opportunity.
Yes.
So when they are classifying people in the categories, we
Mm-hmm.
found them in that category of poor persons because they don't have information, they are not supported like other citizens because they
Okay.
are not fully informed.
Yes.
So those are the evidence. The evidence comes from the numbers rising and the issue rising in the community.
Mm. Okay. And Lucy says that she likes that the community and family level interventions to support people living with disability. Rebecca Kante has joined us as well. Hi, Rebecca. Lucy says she likes the partnership mechanism in Rwanda instead of using just a single government institution. Now, this marks the end of today's session, and it was a pleasure to host you. And it was a very informative session. What I've gathered is information is what is missing, especially in the persons living with disability. I honestly can say it's something that the government needs to put more effort into, as well as assumptions. We assume that simply because they're getting aid in this sector, they don't need more assistance. But I believe all of us can do something towards empowering persons living with disability. Now, I would like to extend an opportunity for you to leave us with a parting shot and also to drop your handles just in case anyone watching wants to reach out and collaborate or support. Jemima?
Thank you. Before I leave the show, I just want to make a correction of many people uses the term persons living with disabilities. We are persons with disabilities. We live with our friends, we live with our relatives, but we are not living with disability. We are persons with disabilities. And then
The
my
correct
parting
note.
shot
Yes.
is the worst disability is a bad attitude. And disability is a club that anyone can join it anytime. If you don't join it now, the age is catching up with you. And because the age is catching with you, one day you will be in a position of using a wheelchair or a crutch. So you better think of those people who are using them now. And also, I'd like to say that for those who are watching me and listening to me today, each one of you, you are a change maker. You can change a life of a child with disability by supporting that girl or that woman with disability, by supporting that man
Hello, Jemima.
of a woman with disability.
Sorry, we lost you a bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Sorry.
hear you now.
I was saying my parting shot is
Yeah.
the worst disability is a club that anyone can join it anytime. For those who are watching and listening to me today, each one of you is a change maker. You can change You can change the life of a child with disability by supporting their mobility, by providing a wheelchair, assistive devices like crutches and calipers. You can change a life of a woman with disability by supporting their income generating programs, empowering them from the community level. Change your attitude, change your challenge yourself, and change the world. As Jemima, I would like to see a world that is barrier free, a world that persons with disabilities are employed, a world that is embracing inclusion of persons with disabilities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jemima. From the comments, Lucy Rungwa said, "This is very informative. Thank you, Joseph and Jemima. Sarah, that was a great moderation." Monique has joined us and said, "Very encouraging, and thank you to all." Lucy has said, "Thank you for the correction, Jemima. I'm sure this is a term that people tend to confuse and interchange, and it's true. We need to stand up and really understand how to address these matters and the term itself."
Yes.
For Mary Julie, she's also saying it's also a term that nowadays is referred to as abled differently. Now, Joseph, for your parting shot.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Let me say something in summary.
Yes.
Uh, I can say small step, big change.
Mm-hmm.
If we start small, at small level,
Sure.
and the future can have a big change. Uh, the following year, to remove
Mm-hmm.
a barrier, it is not an expansive. It is a will. If we have a will commitment,
Mm-hmm.
barrier can be removed.
Sure.
For example, if we wanted to learn a sign language to communicate with a deaf person, it is not expensive. It is
Mm-hmm.
very simple. If we wanted to help a person with visual impairment, it is not difficult. Even social support, physical support, any support can help him to survive and to be included in the community. Uh, Other advice, I can say that we need to work together. We need collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
collaboration with civil societies and the government,
Yes.
uh, people in the community, we need to go to work together with them, explain them persons with disabilities, because there are some groups of people who don't know a person or a person with disabilities. So it's better to to have a stronger tie one another in order to make a cycle. If it is a cycle, no one who is excluded. All of us, we are included. Other slogan, I can say that disability is not inability. A
Yes.
person with disability is able.
Yes.
Orient him or her in what he is able, he can do more.
Mm-hmm.
So the community must change the mindset or attitude. The attitude should be positive in front of persons with disabilities
Okay.
in order to create a good environment
Mm.
in them. So the policy implementers also need to focus on what they are going to implement.
Mm-hmm.
Who are beneficiaries? We need to support them. What we need to support them.
Yeah.
Before to implement something, you have to know what he or she needs.
Yes.
If you need white cane for a blind, it's better to ask him to come him to closer and ask him or her what he wants or what he needs.
Mm. Yes.
Uh, for deaf person, we need to learn sign language. Everyone,
Mm-hmm.
we say that sign language is for all. No one who is excluded.
Mm.
When we say sign language, it is a tactile sign language. It is a tactile sign language. It is for all, not
Okay.
for deaf blind, not for civil societies, not for someone else. It is for us in general.
Yes.
Everyone have to commit him or herself in order to support those persons with disabilities. As we know, everyone is has what he know more than the others.
Mm-hmm.
If you know public speaking, there is another one who don't know.
Yes.
It is an example. I don't have a disability. There is
Mm.
another one who don't have a disability. He
Mm.
can be able to speak in the public, but
Mm.
other cannot be able to speak in the public.
Mm-hmm.
So we can complement each other in
Mm-hmm.
order to achieve. So I can say that thank you for this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It orients us where we have a gap and what we are going to focus in the future.
Yes.
So I can say thank you, the the panelists and the group. So
Yes.
I think that the future is better than today.
Yes. It
So
definitely
it's
is.
brighter than today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
continue working together with us. There
Mm-hmm.
is a big improvement in our career. So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joseph and Jemima. I'd also like to extend a great thank you for Youth Film Platform Africa for joining us, as well as Mandela Washington Fellowship for African Young Leaders Kenyan chapter. I would like to welcome our producer, Rachel Wanaina, to end the show for us. As well, for anyone that has missed the live, there's always a rerun on our Facebook platform, Sauti Kenya. Rachel?
Thank you, Sarah. I'm ending the show now. Thank you. Good job, guys. Let me just end it.